Welcome into another edition of Box Office Quarterbacks. I am Jeff. He's Ahmed. Today we are talking about Cobra Kai. I had a blank out really quick. I was about to say Better Call Saul for some reason. We are talking about Cobra Kai season 5. If you can tell, I'm upset that Better Call Saul didn't win any Emmys last night, so that's my thing. But yeah, me and Ahmed, we binged this over the weekend to talk about it as soon as we can. Ahmed, what were your initial thoughts on season 5 of this show?
I liked it, but toward the very last episode, and I guess, and we'll try not to do spoilers. Jeff, if you change your mind later, that's fine. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't know how they're going to, leave that weird little cliffhanger at the end, but everything else I thought was pretty solid.
See, we're going to differ on this time around. I think this
Let's
was
go.
my least favorite season of the show, simply because I think that the plot has become so ridiculous now, and I don't see an end game in sight, that I feel that the show needs to end sooner rather than later. I just think that Daniel and Johnny and Terry Silver obviously are creating a worse situation for those kids than bettering their life with karate. But that's my initial takeaway with this show. I think there were some good things in this season, but there were a lot more bad things.
Definitely. One of those bad things being that, like you said, the plot is very convoluted. It seemed very rushed. And I wonder if that very end should have just been the closer. This should have been the final season. If it would have been the final season, it probably wouldn't have been my favorite, but it still would have been like, okay, well, that's fine. That's a decent way to end things. At least, you know, because at this point, it's like, don't these kids have to go to school? You know what I mean?
How old are they now? They got to be like graduated at this point. It's
At
just
this
so weird.
point, yeah, they should have been graduating. But how many of them have done homework? How many of them? I mean, what's next? Like, does karate really? Is that really going to be the thing? Is Terry Silver and Kreese going to just keep haunting these kids the rest of their lives?
They're like, it's like a mafia movie with karate, or like a mafia show. It's just so weird. Like there's another huge brawl. I mean, without getting into too much spoilers, I might just go into it. There's another huge brawl, like in the middle of the night at the end of this season, where all these kids are just, stacked up in Cobra Kai. And you're telling me that none of their parents saw them leave the house at like 2 a.m. to go karate brawl. Uh,
Well, yeah,
there's,
and
there's
some of
so
them
much.
are like expert computer folks. Like, I don't know what kind of prodigy school these kids are going to, but I mean, I don't know anybody that's like able to hack into someone else's computer system, let alone a freaking teenager.
Yeah,
And also, what kind of weird world do they live in where nobody has a gun? You know
I
what
know,
I mean?
right? They're lucky they didn't run into those people in this show yet. But
They do in a way, but
yeah,
I'll go ahead and let you.
yeah. I mean, let's just get into our favorite scenes. Let's just get into it. For me, I would say my favorite scenes of this season, I would say that the fight scenes were top notch. I would say any of them lived up to some of the best fight scenes in the show. I thought the showdown at Terry Silver's house, even though there were like senseis coming out of nowhere, they're just like, do they have bunk beds back there? And they're just staying at Silver's house until somebody breaks in. But
How
the
big is
sensei
this guy's
fight,
house? Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, the sensei fight. Ugh.
yeah, the sensei fight was crazy, and it was probably the best fight of the show. I think I liked Silver versus Chosen. I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, and honestly, anything with Chosen, I really like Chosen this season.
I agree. I think they did a really good. They did good justice to Chosen's character. They made him look like a badass, and everything that built up to their fight, I thought was really good. Um, I will take a different approach. Still focusing on Chosen, but I think they really did justice to his character. I'll take a different approach. I had two scenes. None of them are fight scenes. I really liked Chosen's discussion with Terry Silver at his house, where they're both drinking whiskey, and Chosen's kind of like trying to play spy here. Um, but I also really liked Crease's moment of therapy where he's talking, and then the instead of his therapist, it's kind of like a reflection of himself when he was younger. It's Tori, it's Daniel, it's Johnny Lawrence. It's all these people that are kind of like not necessarily haunting him, but he's forced to, confront the people that he's hurt, including his younger self. Um, and yeah, I just really liked that scene. I liked the scenes with Chosen. I liked the scenes with Crease. I wish we could have seen more with Crease.
Yeah, the Kree stuff I'll get to in a second. I did like the scene with Chosen and the kids where they're protecting the egg. I thought
Oh
that was
yeah,
a really creative scene, and it was a really great training montage. I also did like the stuff with Johnny becoming a dad again. I thought that was pretty funny. Where they go and get like the pregnancy test, and he's like, "We're getting the premium version" or something, and then or he like tries to take back like a pack of like gas station condoms and
yeah. What
he's
the
like
hell
these
was
don't
that?
work. That was pretty funny. um the Miguel and Robbie stuff was better. Like they ended their feud, so I did like that. The one thing with Miguel that bothered me this season was the dad storyline. They built it up all the way at the end of last season, and we spend 3 episodes on it, and we don't hear from the guy again. So I
Yeah,
thought I didn't know where that was going.
yeah. I would have liked to see a little bit more of the dad. Where I would have liked to see that reveal where Miguel kind of confronts him a little more. And that's probably the only time we actually ever see a gun. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He doesn't use it, but he just pulls it out, and it's like, oh, okay. And then it's just weird. Yeah, that was one of the least favorites, but eh, yeah, you're bringing me closer to your side, but I
Oh
can't
no.
say. But that's the thing. It's the show, in my opinion, is just very entertaining. It's not supposed to like be worthy of any award, which is probably very controversial considering it was nominated for some Emmys. I don't think it's an Emmy award winning show. I think it's just so cheesy and silly that you can't help but tune in and binge it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, me and you watched this in a weekend. That's how committed we were to finishing it. And I muted like all the Cobra Kai words on Twitter so I didn't see anything. So I do really love this show. It's just, it, for me, it's like the seasons are take every other season I think is bad, which is weird. Like anytime they're focusing on the tournament itself, I think those are great seasons. But when they have a season where they're not competing in the All Valley or whatever this next season is going to be about, that huge tournament, I think it lacks focus, and I think it suffers a little bit when there's no goal at the end. For this, it was defeating Terry Silver, and Terry Silver, his goal is just so Bond villainy, where he's like, I want Cobra Kai to be synonymous with Starbucks
And coffee,
and
yeah.
coffee. And I'm like, how big do you think karate is? Because I did karate. Well, I mean, I did karate when I was a kid, but it wasn't like, in every single shopping center or strip mall. And I didn't hear people at school talking about karate. So I don't know.
Well, it's very animated in a way because it is very, like you said, Bond villainy. It could only work, I think, in a cartoon because in the real world, where they do curse in this show and they do talk about real life situations, it just seems unrealistic, with all due respect, that
Yeah.
Johnny never learned how to use a computer. He never in 20 years, he never learned how to, use the internet, and somehow he can afford his apartment.
Yeah.
He can afford a nice TV, and now he's like Do you need some money? Oh, I'm also out of a job, but I'm also able to afford baby proofing the house.
Yeah. He's
Like,
just buying expensive tools all the time. But
yeah. So again, it works as a cartoon. But you know what? I will take this side. I I like some of the the storylines in terms of like Kreese's backstory. I really appreciated that.
yeah,
You know,
the young Kree stuff is great, and the young Silver stuff too.
oh yeah, I mean, I think season three, the way that ended, with the editing between the fight young Crease is having with his father, and Robbie versus Johnny, and then Crease versus Johnny, Crease then versus Daniel. You know, all the while it's giving you the flashback into him fighting his old captain and becoming who he is, arguably today. At the same time, you find out the reason why he got into that fight was to protect Terry Silver, of
Yeah,
all people. It was a beautiful way, and unfortunately, and I love what they were doing with Terry in the fourth season, and then it just, yeah, you're right, it just kind of made them go into like cartoonish, Bond villainish, whatever the hell you want to call it.
yeah. Like there is some of the strongest Kree stuff in this season. I would say the stuff with his therapist, where he's talking to the therapist, but it's the faces of like everybody that he hurt in his life. I thought was great as well. So that Kree stuff was great. The jailbreak at the end of the season is where I was like, okay, because
Oh,
that was like Hannibal Lecter and Silence of the Lambs breaking out of jail. It was just that level of crazy.
yeah.
So
Now we're entering spoiler territory, folks. So this is the part where you pause and you go watch the series, binge it in a day, like I did, and then come back and listen. But
yeah,
if you're gonna keep listening at your own risk, then fine.
yeah,
Yeah, what
because
the
I'm
hell
just
was
gonna
that
drop
about?
bombs.
Let's go. What
Yeah,
the hell was that about? How are you gonna end on that? Then what's gonna with Terry going to jail too? Like, so now what? Is he gonna bond out?
yeah. They like set it up to where the sensei that Terry brings in from Japan, they to have her lead Cobra Kai. I think
Okay.
that's what I that's where I think it's going, but I'm not entirely sure. And then they have was it Devin, the new student that joins Cobra Kai, and then they're setting her
Yeah.
up to be a villain. But there's so many kids that switch sides every single season.
Oh yeah, there's another kid switched sides at the last minute. It was like, I never liked his ass anyway.
Yeah, penis breath.
Penis breath. Like
Yeah,
what? I love the reveal. Like, why are you betraying us? Like, I don't know, maybe because you called me penis breath. And
yeah,
then Kyla comes around, like, enough talking, penis breath. Let's go.
yeah. That was pretty funny.
It was
Um, but
Kenny
yeah,
G, man.
yeah. Any other scenes that stood out to you though before we move
No,
on?
I think we've covered it for the most part.
Um, Normally we do characters at this point, but maybe let's just say our favorite character of the season instead of running down a top five. And I'll start with you, Ahmed. Who was your favorite of the season?
Hands down, was Chosen.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting to like him that much, and I never watched the other Karate Kid movies. I barely even watched the first Karate Kid. Sorry, folks. Please don't unsubscribe. Just know that like I just never watched them, but I know the movie. I understand the significance behind it. And the whole thing with Chosen, though, I really liked the actor, and I loved his character. I kind of hope they do more for him. And at the end, that fight between him and Silver, when he like got slashed into the pool, I was like, "Oh my god, did they just kill him? What the fuck?
yeah,
Like, how? No, no!" And then he's walking. It's just a flesh wound. Like, all right, something about it seems suspect, but fine, I'll just accept it. Why not?
yeah. I agree with you. He was my favorite character too, and that was the biggest emotional reaction I got this season. Is when I thought Chosen died for like those 5 or 10 minutes. I was like, "Holy crap! You cannot kill this guy!" After like all the character development and him calling that woman in Japan, telling her
Yep.
like his feelings and everything. So I'm happy he's okay, and I'm happy he's probably coming back for season 6. So yeah,
I'll also give an accreditation to Mike Barnes, who is
Yeah,
also another person in Cobra Kai. I think he's definitely runner up. If I had seen more scenes with him, I probably would have picked him as the favorite. But I hope we could see more of him too. I loved that he wasn't a villain.
yeah. He got screwed more than
Oh,
everybody because,
oh God.
and I, if you own a furniture store, maybe get insurance on that furniture store.
Yeah, I mean, just yeah. How did he go underground after that? And how did he think Daniel did it too? That was the thing that pissed me off. The
Yeah,
whole time he thought Daniel did it. Get out of here! Come on,
yeah.
man.
But yeah, I did like Mike too, and I hope he does come back. So there were positives. There were definitely positives in this season. But now we're going into our final scores. And I'm curious, Ahmed, what would you give season 5 of Cobra Kai?
I think I'm going to give it an all star because it's definitely still living up to the hype. Aside from the last episode or that last scene in the episode where it's like gonna reveal that it's gonna be another season six, if they would have just ended it right there, I could have enjoyed it more and I could have said, hey, you know what? It was a great ride. It was awesome how they started and now it's finally put to rest. You know what I mean? But I'm, we'll just see. But I think they're still, you know, they're still it's still riding that wave of success. So I'll let them have their moment in the sun by giving them that all-star rating. But
Nice.
I know I'm being very generous.
Yeah. See, and I think you brought me out of benching it because I was dead set on benching it when we started the show. I think I'm going to give it a starter, a very low starter, but I
Mm.
think that they need to start thinking of how to end this series because the kids are only getting older, the plot's only getting more ridiculous. So I think, and I'll watch it for 15 seasons if they do it, and I'll complain about it all the time, but I will watch it. But just give me a light at the end of the tunnel to tell me where you're going. That's
Yeah,
my one criticism.
there needs to be a good ending to, how does it all work out? There needs to be like a good way to just kind of finally close this chapter because I hear a lot of the older generations telling, the younger generation that we need to watch the show. In fact, on Facebook, one of my brother-in-law's, not boomer friends, but he might as well be the way, just crapping all over millennials. He's like, every person in the snowflake generation should watch this series. Like, why? So we can watch a bunch of grown men not being able to accept the past.
That's what it is. Like I don't remember any of my feuds from high school like that great. So
Yeah.
like it's over and done with. Like just ignore those people.
That's why I
don't
was
start
really
yeah, don't start a gang war with your buddy from high school.
That's
That's
what
the
I was
thing.
really hoping they would have done with Crease because in the beginning he's like, "No, do you know how much cocaine I was on? Like, I was harassing a teenager. What was wrong with me?" And maybe I'm hoping maybe in the season six, maybe they can finally show us that maybe Crease wasn't really that bad of a guy. Like if that's the way they end it, then I'll go, okay, fine. No, everyone should watch this movie. Like
Yeah.
if Silver is really like, no, I'm not after world domination, because he's really good at like maneuvering and getting people to like him.
Yeah, like Silver was a great villain, I'm not going to lie. They just made him do way too many outlandish things because the start of last season, he didn't even care about Cobra Kai. He was
Yeah,
just living his life being rich. And then now he's like, you know what? I'm going to control all the kids in the valley. I'm going to control all the kids in the world. And what's the end game? Like little karate soldiers? I don't know. I
little
really don't.
karate
I really want to
assassins.
know. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about Cobra Kai season 5. Obviously, I liked it. I watched it in 2 days. Anything else you want to add, Ahmed, before we get out of here?
I think we covered it, my guy.
All right. Well, I'm Jeff. He's Ahmed. This is another edition of Box Office Quarterbacks. We will be back next week with more movie stuff, news, probably some sports stuff. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass right now, but we will be back. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those fun things. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and we will see you guys next week.